Hey sisters, I'm super excited to dive into this episode, but before we do, I want to talk about two quick things. First, 73% of women out of the 40 billion that are going through perimenopause right now are struggling with symptoms and not getting the help that they need. And mostly that's first because of the miseducation, the uneducation that we have around this. If you are wondering whether your struggles, your suffering, your symptoms, and specifically your weight release resistance or the weight that you're gaining has to do with perimenopause, I've created a free quiz for you to get those answers and be sure if that is the issue for you. All you need to do is swipe up and take the quiz now. It's free and it'll send you an email to confirm or let you know next steps for you so that you can better understand whether that's what you're going through. Secondly, I have heard you. I have heard the struggles. I know them firsthand. I know what it's like to wonder what the heck is going on in your body, why all your efforts aren't working, and why you're Googling terrible things like, do I have cancer? Do I have MS? Do I have this? To better understand what's really going on inside of you. I have a big announcement based on something I have created for you that I'll be launching for September. I'm going to be starting to share a little bit more about it here on the podcast. So make sure you're coming back to the podcast. Make sure you are subscribing to the podcast so you don't miss the episodes. When you subscribe, you usually get notified that the episode and a new episode has dropped. So make sure you follow, share this with your friends, and let's give you the solutions to your problems that you need so you don't keep staying stuck and really going backwards. When you have these problems and you don't choose a solution that works for you, things don't get better, as we all know in midlife. We're vintage now. All right, let's dive in to this week's podcast.
What's up, sisters? Welcome to the Period Whisperer podcast. I'm Bria. I'm your host. If you're new, I'm so happy you are here. I'm your perimenopause and menopause sister, your holistic trainer, hormone specialist, translator of your female body. I'm a recovering people pleaser and hustle addict turned body whisperer and hormone decoder. And I am here to help you de-stress your body, decode what it is saying, become the CEO of it, and own your own health, energy, and weight loss again. This show is for you, the overwhelmed, overworked, underappreciated step woman who dreams of a body they feel strong, energetic, and sane in. The woman who knows that she shouldn't just wave the white aging flag and believes in a body and life of peace, love, and purpose. But you don't just know how to get there yet. So if you are stuck in your body, your energy, your life, you are in the right spot. Let's lean in and learn what our bodies are saying to us.
Hey, sisters. Welcome to this episode of the Period Whisperer podcast. I am Bria Gadd, your guide through all hormonal turmoil in the perimenopause years. So whether you're in the early phases of it from 35 to 45 or the later phases of it from 45 and beyond, if you're struggling with a lot of symptoms, I am your guide to walk you through how to reduce the inflammation in your body, how to heal and support your hormones, and how to shift into fat burning. Because we know that when the other symptoms heal, when you start sleeping better, when your night sweats go away, when your hot flashes decrease, when your bloating goes away, when all of these things that pain us and frustrate us and keep us from thriving in life, when these go away, we're shifting into fat burning. And that's what we want. We want to get to that part. So today I want to talk about something that is such a key part of this process. I talk about it often. I talk about it with a lot of you individually and in groups and in my trainings and on my Instagram, but it's such a hot topic and it's really, really important. And it is simply this: are your workout and nutrition plans causing your belly fat? Now, some of you may have asked yourselves this. Some of you may have never even imagined it was doing that to you. And today I'm going to walk you through whether this is possible, whether this is happening, and help you understand whether this is for you or not. And then, of course, what to do about it. So, first, I feel like I should scroll back to my story. For me, when I found myself in the depths of hormonal chaos, what I noticed was definitely my leggings were getting tighter, around the belly, especially. I was having a lot of bloating and digestive issues. I was starting to have really irregular and heavy periods. I was waking up at night and having night sweats, and I was really starting to struggle with low mood and depression. And it was a really dark spot for me, and I was determined not to stay there. But I think what was more frustrating for me was, being that I'd been in the health and wellness industry for so long, I had some really solid workout habits. I woke up every day, rain or shine, wherever I was in the world, and made sure to crush out a solid 30 to 45 minute intense workout. And that is how I had built really part of my health foundations, was through this workout. And on top of that, I had really what I thought was a solid nutrition plan. I would wake up, I was a bulletproof coffee girl. So I was sort of intermittent fasting. I'd wake up, I'd have my caffeine, I'd do my workout, I'd have my bulletproof coffee. And then, I'd break my fast late morning and typically have a shake or some eggs or something along those lines. And I had no idea that these two habits alone were a huge reason that my body was seemingly speaking an entirely different language from me. And it was definitely a dark spot for me. I had me Googling all sorts of things. I thought something was wrong with me. I even started having this twitch in my eye constantly, day after day, for months. And it was really beginning to wreak havoc on my central nervous system, create a lot of stress and anxiety, because not only was it impacting my life and my ability to have clarity of thought and presence with my kids, but it also was the way I made my living, being healthy and helping other people be healthy, helping other people develop these habits. So I was shocked when I started to understand three key things in the body that really I needed to understand in order to unravel these habits that were actually making me feel worse. And they're confusing, right? So I want to make this really, really simple for you. So there's three things happening in the body in perimenopause that we need to understand. The first and foremost is that the role of our reproductive hormones, our estrogen, progesterone, are really being passed from our ovaries to our adrenals. And our adrenals run our stress system of the body and a lot of our metabolism. So if our adrenals are really taxed and busy handling all the stressors of life, which so many of us have right now, I mean, hello, in midlife, we are raising kids still, we're thinking about aging parents, we're peaking careers, not to mention at that time, we have I think the political climate of the world, the pandemic, and those kind of stressors, environmental stressors that we don't always think about, and social media stressors, the shenanigans of other people's opinions and other people's highlight reels always in our face, telling us how we should be and what we should do. So I would argue that in general, women in this generation going into perimenopause and menopause are more stressed out than ever. So that's the first most important thing, is that this role is being passed. And the reason our perimenopause symptoms really differ from woman to woman has everything to do with the state of your adrenals at the time that this role begins being passed. The second most important thing you need to understand was that progesterone is suppressed by inflammation and cortisol. So progesterone and estrogen are our two main hormones. I'm sure you've heard me say this before. They are symbiotic, which means not enough of one means too much of the other, and vice versa. Well, progesterone is very, very sensitive to cortisol and inflammation in the body. So any inflammation in the body is creating more cortisol. Any other stress factors in your life that are affecting your adrenals are now suppressing your progesterone, which automatically means too much estrogen. And excess estrogen or estrogen dominance is really the cause for a lot of these very insane symptoms that a lot of us feel, where we kind of feel like we're going crazy, whether it's anxiety or depression or low mood, where we have excess belly fat, right? Because the belly fat is stored, or the excess hormones are stored in the belly. And it becomes a really tough cycle, because we need to reduce that inflammation and cortisol in order to bring ourselves back into balance. And the third thing is really that our liver specifically is overwhelmed. Our liver is one of our key organs of elimination. It detoxifies the body, it metabolizes hormones. So whether it's toxins from our food and our environment coming into our body, or whether it's cortisol elevated in the body and the liver has to metabolize that, or excess estrogen, the liver's role is to metabolize those fat soluble hormones and turn them into water soluble, and so that we can eliminate them out, we can poop them out. Well, we can't do that if the liver is too busy. So if the liver is so busy and overwhelmed with all of the inflammation that is wreaking havoc on our progesterone and wreaking havoc on our adrenals, as well as managing this excess estrogen load, now it cannot actually metabolize the estrogen. It's not its top priority. Its top priority is always going to be the stress and inflammation coming into the body. So instead of being able to metabolize our estrogen, it stores us in our belly fat. And this becomes the tough cycle, right? The tough cycle of all of this, because this more stress on the body means more estrogen on the liver, more work on the liver, and then the liver's got to store it in the belly fat, and the estrogen lives there, making the estrogen worse. So it's a really tough cycle that for us to experience, and very easy for us to give in. And ultimately, all of this inflammation, all of this stress, all of this workload on our body has our body shifting into fight or flight mode, which means it's storing fat. A body in fight or flight mode cannot use its fat stores. It will do everything it can to protect us, because our body system is really designed to, when it's stressed, when it's in fight or flight, to preserve so that we're ready to have these energy stores for the fight or flight that's coming. So it's constantly in this very stressed out state because of all of this. So where this all comes to be with your workouts and your nutrition plans is that, first and foremost, workouts that by nature push the body to change add stress to the body. Any type of resistance training, any type of high intensity interval training are designed to push your body to change, spiking inflammation in the body. If you've ever started a weightlifting program and then got on the scale a week later and gained weight, that is typical of a normal response in the body, because our body the muscles are actually torn and there's inflammation that happens and water that goes to that. To those muscles. So we actually end up retaining a bit more water. Now, of course, as we continue that process and as the body heals, it will shed that and we start to develop more tight muscle. But when we're already in the fight or flight mode, any excess cortisol is now taxing our adrenals, suppressing our cortisol, and overwhelming our liver. So workouts like that actually work against us in this phase. And it's really important that we understand this, because you're using this energy to do a workout thinking it's the right move for you. And that's what I thought for me as well. And unfortunately, it's actually causing us to gain weight and exhausting our micronutrients in our body, exhausting our energy levels, and really perpetuating this huge problem. The second issue with our nutrition is that a lot of nutrition plans talk about intermittent fasting. And that is a really tough thing for women in hormonal chaos, because the fastest way to continue to stress out a woman's body, and the fastest way to reduce that, is by having inconsistent or consistent blood sugar. So as soon as your blood sugar levels are inconsistent, it's adding a workload and stress to the body. And things like eating inconsistently, if we haven't locked in our nutrition, in place, if we're trying to work out a bad diet kind of thing, which I know I used to do all the time, if we're eating inflammatory foods, if we're having sugar cravings because we're exhausted, and so we are indulging in these sugar cravings or indulging in this alcohol, or we're not eating enough, or we're fasting in the beginning of the day, we're putting our body at a massive disadvantage with impacting and adding stress through irregular blood sugar. And this again adds more stress to the body, pushing it further into fight or flight. So if you are here and you're listening to this episode and you have been trying all the things and nothing is working, or you're doing the things you used to do to release weight and you're gaining weight, this is why. And you know it. You know that what you're doing is not working and it's time to do something different. What we want is to understand the path back. So that's the tough news. That's the hard reality. But I always find that understanding the process helps us find the correct solution, right? If we just think we're lazy or we don't have enough energy and we need to work out more or eat less, then we're actually following the wrong process for the perimenopausal body. So here's the path back. Ready? I'm going to give it to you in 3 easy steps. Number 1, we need to first and foremost eliminate inflammation. We need to cut back on the things in life that are creating the inflammation. And that looks as simple as protecting a 7 to 9 hour sleep window. So do not work out if you're not sleeping 7 to 9 hours, like sleeping as much as you can, prioritizing that in your life, and pulling out the high inflammatory foods in your life, right? Alcohol, sugar, caffeine, conventionally raised dairy, gluten, things like that we know cause inflammation in the body, pulling those out. And then we move into step number 2, healing and repair. This is when we really nail down the consistency of our nutrition to give the body space and know what to expect. Start to implement movement after our meals and look at the composition of our meals a little bit more. What are the amount of micronutrients we're having in veggies? Are we eating enough protein? That type of thing to really nourish and heal and repair and use the right supplements if we need them. And step number 3 is shifting into fat burning mode. And we do that by understanding our female hormone rhythm and working with it instead of against it. When you follow this path, you get results. You reduce inflammation, you heal and repair, and then you move into fat burning. It works every single time. You just need to follow the steps. If you want me to walk you through this, I want to make sure that you are tapping into my trainings, that you are taking the quiz that I have out there. And of course, I have something very exciting that I'm going to be announcing soon. So if you need help with this, if you want more elaboration on this, you want a deeper understanding, then make sure you're coming back to the podcast each episode, that you're listening to it, because I'm going to make an exciting announcement for the fall to help more women knock out these 3 steps so that in 3 months' time, they're feeling better than they have in years. And I think what's important about that is when we nail it in perimenopause, menopause and beyond becomes much easier. All these things that we worry about, aging, gaining weight, all of these things that can feel very frustrating and scary as we get older, get so much easier when you walk this path now. All right, sisters, share this episode if there was anything in it that resonated with you. Make sure you tag a friend or take a picture and tag me or DM me if you have questions. I am the one who answers my own direct messages. I am here for you. I want to be your guide on this because I know what it's like to feel stuck and frustrated. And now I know what it's like to feel amazing. And that's what I want for you. All right. Go out, be more in your life and not just less on a scale. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Period Whisperer podcast. I want to encourage you to reach out to me directly and message me if there are topics or things you're struggling with so we can address those right where you are at. And of course, if you loved this episode, if you learned something, make sure to share it with your friends and please rate and review it wherever you get your podcasts.